Hi, welcome everyone. My name is Kevin Solari. I'm a regional editor with Shaw Media. I'm here with our St. Charles reporter, David Pettish. We are here talking to candidates for St. Charles Ward 5 to get a chance to get to know them a little bit and get their views on some of the issues. We'll start with opening statements. We'll go alphabetically. Lauren, you can go first on this one. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for everyone that's going to take the time to watch and listen to this to make an informed decision about who to vote for. So a little bit about myself. My name is Lauren Duddles. Obviously, I'm running for City Council in the 5th Ward. I have 2 daughters. My oldest is a freshman in college at UMass Boston, and my youngest is a junior in high school at East. A little about my background. I have a bachelor's degree in political science. I have my teaching certification for social studies and history, and my master's degree in curriculum and instruction, into which I did a lot of my research on children with adverse childhood experiences and how to support them inside and outside of the classroom. I fell in love with St. Charles when my husband and I moved to Bartlett in 2004 when we got married. Once my children were born, St. Charles was the background of their life, even though we didn't live here yet. We went to every St. Patrick's Day parade and Scarecrow Fest. I loved coming to get my hair done and to go shopping. And I knew that I would move my family here, which I did in 2017. And when I first moved here, I was teaching full-time at a school about an hour away. I would come home from school, pick up my youngest daughter at Baker Station at Richmond, and then my nights would be spent making dinner and driving my kids to activities. And so I didn't have the bandwidth to get involved at the time. I was very involved with what was going on with my kids. But in 2022, I worked for Congresswoman Lauren Underwood, and she had been redistricted already. So I was working in a different community, but I just loved all the connections that I made with elected officials, all the work that I was doing within the community and volunteer work and different things. And so as soon as that position ended, I couldn't wait to come home and do something, bring something back to my own community. And so I ran for school board in 2023. I didn't win, but I got appointed to the Youth Commission, to which I've served on for the last 2 years and really enjoy it. But I've made so many different connections, and just it helped me find different groups, different volunteer opportunities, things like that, that I never would have known of before if I hadn't run for office and made these connections. So now I'm running for City Council. I didn't intend to run this time. Someone else was going to run, and then they decided to run for something else. And so I stepped up to run because I think everyone deserves a choice, and candidates should fight hard to get votes from the voters. But also, I feel one thing that has been missing in the 5th Ward is having people engage with us. So if I'm elected, I would like to have quarterly in-person events where I can give updates on what's going on in City Council. People can ask questions, air grievances, and also just another way to connect different community people together, and also give updates on different opportunities of volunteering and community groups that people could join as well. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're
Sure. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, David. So me and my wife, we've been in St. Charles for 21 years now. We've raised our 3 kids. Actually, my oldest daughter, who's 26 now, just recently moved out and got into her own house. My middle son, so that's Alana. My middle son, Frankie, is a junior at Illinois State. And then my youngest son, Tommy, is a sophomore at St. Charles East. So we've been here, like I said, 21 years. We love the area. The first house we ever bought was in St. Charles. I grew up not too far away, so growing up as a teenager and stuff like that, I just remember hanging out with friends in St. Charles. So always loved the area. Just, you know, what I tell people about St. Charles is that it's basically the very edge of Chicago. We get the best of both worlds. We have a downtown kind of urban setting, but as soon as you go west, it becomes very, very rural. So we like the change of pace that St. Charles offers, and it's just a great community to live in and to have raised my kids in. So I'm seeking 4 more years to get reelected to City Council. Prior to being on City Council, I was on the Kane County board. So I have a lot of, I'm probably the only one on city council right now that has 2 levels of government experience. Actually, when the 5th Ward seat opened up for election 4 years ago, I was on the county board, and knowing all of the critical things that were coming up in St. Charles, I felt like my calling at that point in time was to run for the 5th Ward to represent the city, to be able to be at the table to represent the ward, to make sure that we make good critical decisions. So once again, coming from 8 years of prior government experience, experience does make a difference. Experience helps make proper decisions, and having voted for 8 straight years, there's a difference between talking about what you're going to do, what you want to do, and then the voting actually shows what you really are about and what you say you're going to do. So once again, I'm seeking 4 more years, and yeah, I'm looking forward to answering some of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll jump into some questions then. Stephen, you'll go first on this one. What would you need to accomplish in the next 4 years in order to consider your term a success?
We have a lot of critical financial and infrastructure decisions that we need to make. I'm sure we'll probably get into some of it, but just high level, the IMEA contract is something that is definitely going to have to be decided on. There's lots of infrastructure projects that are either in the works or things that we're going to have to figure out how to finance in the very near future. We have pension obligations that we have to make sure that we're properly funding to stay ahead of. And then we also have a lot of development, opportunities, and people always want more development, but you need to do responsible development that's good for the whole community. So for me, those would be some of the top level stuff. But then, within the ward, I mean, I'm a big proponent, as we funded a bike pedestrian plan this past year. So that's something that is already getting momentum, is already in the works. Connecting, the west side of my ward to the east side. Randall Road runs right through the ward. So we are very, very split. You have the older houses on the east side of Randall, and then the newer developments on the west side. So from the infrastructure standpoint, the west side is relatively new. Water, sewer, we just put new roads in Harvest Hills, but then on the other end, some of that connectability was not done correctly when they approved these projects. So that's something that we need to work on, is to be able to connect Harvest Hills to Randall Road, basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Lauren, same question. What would you need to accomplish in the next 4 years to consider your term a success?
I would agree with a lot of what Steve said. I think updating the infrastructure is very important, and doing it in a way that we're still staying on budget. And also, I would love to see St. Charles become one of the most walkable and bikeable cities. So I agree with Steve as well on that. In my area, something that frustrates me, I see it on a regular basis. We have lots of areas where there's disconnected sidewalks, and people are trying to get through with a stroller or walk through or bike through. So we have the opportunity now. I know things are planned for the future, but I hope we can try to speed that up as much as possible. And would love to see in the next 4 years how we can make St. Charles the most walkable and bikeable, making sure that we have safe passage for anyone that is walking or biking in the area. I would also like to see a trolley system. There's a lot of complaints about parking. I don't know if this is something that we're going to get to, but something like the St. Patrick's Day parade that's coming up on Saturday. You have a lot of people that are coming, people from St. Charles itself and people from other places driving in, and it gets a little crazy with parking. So wouldn't it be nice if you could just park in a nearby parking lot and take a trolley downtown and not even have, the headache of having to worry about getting there early or finding a parking spot. So I'd love to see that as well.
Okay, thank you.
So you touched on this a little bit. IMEA is one of the hot button topics right now. In your opinion, what are the most important qualities that the city's energy provider should have? And do you think that it reflects the interests of residents? This one starts with you, Lauren.
Yes, well, I think we have seen that there is a large group of residents that are very interested in this, which is good to see the involvement and the interest. I think that the most important things are reliability, cost, obviously the largest use possible of renewable energy. We want to make sure that we're still having reliable service, but that the cost is reasonable for the residents here. But right now, I think what we're using is 80% coal and 20% renewable. And I think obviously most people find that unacceptable right now and want us to move towards more renewable energy sources. We definitely have seen a push for that in our community. And that's something that I'm hoping we will explore different options and come up with what has more renewable sources.
Thank you. Steve, same question.
Yeah, thank you, David. So in regarding the IMEA, I mean, I definitely, you know, our first responsibility is to make sure that the power supply is obviously reliable and affordable. Now, in comparison to the rest of the state right now, IMEA, the way we get our power, 80% of it is coal and 20% is renewable. Now, as bad as that is, that's actually better than like what ComEd does, but that's still not acceptable. 80-20 is not acceptable. So one of the things that I want to see within the IMEA contract would be, you know, there needs to be more flexibility within the contract to allow for future new energy sources that come online, that there's a commitment to say, as soon as those sources come online, we need to keep whittling down that 80%. If there's more geothermal available, we need to exercise. If there's potential to have, you know, solar options in the city, maybe we have land that we can put solar to help, you know, remove some of that pollution off of the off Prairie State. You know, if nuclear becomes more of an option at some point, you know, we just need to have flexibility within that contract. It's not something that we need to rush and sign. We need to take our time, look through it thoroughly. We're not going to be bullied into signing something just because IMEA wants us to sign it 10 years early. So, which is why we haven't signed it to date. If it was up to them, they wanted us to sign this a year ago. We all pumped the brakes, pushed back and said, we're not doing this right now. We need to gather more information so that we can make a correct decision that affects our city for not only the next 10, because we're already locked in for the next 10 years, but the next 25. So basically, if this is a 50-year decision, it's okay for us to pump the brakes and take time to get all the proper information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Another topic of discussion around town lately is the dam. So I want to know what you guys think, what role the dam is going to play in the future of St. Charles. Steve, you can go first.
All right. So I'm actually pretty passionate about this. I like history. One of the main reasons, I mean, it's the Fox River, the mighty Fox, right? The dam has been there for 190 years. That's actually the only dam on the river that actually has this original foundation. So it's stayed strong for 190 years. Now, obviously, the purpose of doing the dam 190 years ago, some of those uses aren't as relevant now. Like, we're not generating any electricity from the dam that Hotel Baker used to they used to have turbines, they used to, you know, create electricity. We're not harvesting ice out of the river anymore like they used to for the old ice box. Obviously, we can go get ice at the store, or you have an ice maker at your house. But what it does provide, as far as the pooling of the water, there's so much activity that goes on the river, whether it's, you know, recreational that residents use and the park district uses. There's also people that have invested heavily in their properties on the river. So the dam at this point in time, and even the IDNR, who originally said the recommendation was to remove, they've already recanted that and said, you know, let's further review this, because maybe that's not the correct choice. So I'm not quick to doing anything with the dam. The dam's going to stay right now, in my opinion. It needs to stay in St. Charles. As long as it's safe. Can we improve the dam? Sure. Can we make it safer? Yes, as we should. Can we make it aesthetically better looking? Sure, we could, and we can invest and do that. But the dam is integral to St. Charles, and I don't want it to go anywhere.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, same question.
Yes, I also agree that I don't think anything should happen with the dam until something needs to happen with it. Obviously, with it being over 100 years old, I don't know how safe it is or if we're going to need to do improvements on it at what point, but when that point comes, I think is when we're going to need to make a decision about the dam. I do agree, though it is used for recreation. People did buy their houses to be on the river, and I think the fear is if the dam is removed, that the river would go down so low that people would not be able to boat in it or any kind of the recreation, also the paddle boats that we have. So we do have an ability to watch Carpentersville, who did remove their dam, and they are in the process of rehabbing it. So we can kind of look to them and see how they're doing that. So if it does come up in the future that we have to replace the dam or repurpose it somehow, we can kind of see what they've done and learn from their mistakes, or if it ends up going well, for the steps that they take, we can do the same. But for right now, I do agree, there's no need to remove it right now. More studies need to be done. And I think there's not much funding to do anything like that right now anyway. So it will probably come down to when there is a safety issue or something like that, that the decision will be made to do something with the dam.
Okay. Thank you. Lauren, this one's going to start with you. In 10 years, where will you see the most change in Ward 5 and in what way?
Well, probably the new housing community that's going to come from behind where Meyer is right now. So I'd say it will look quite different once that comes up. Also, we do have a few vacant areas, so it will be interesting to see what comes in the Harley Davidson building. I would like to see something like an Apple store there. I don't know if that's possible, but I feel like that is something like Whole Foods that would bring people from out of town in, and also something nice for the people that live in St. Charles to have. But I think basically around the new housing that's coming and any new development that's coming into the existing spots that are vacant right now.
Thank you. Steve, same question.
Yeah, so definitely the largest potential residential component development would be definitely right behind Meyer. That's a huge opportunity. We've actually had a group come to us and present the plan. We push back on some things, and it's up to them if they want to modify it or change it and come back again. But that piece of land has a lot of cool things going for it. It's right next to it's right off of Roosevelt Road. It's right by public transportation. So there's an opportunity there when we do that project, if the developer wants to have some kind of a affordable housing component, as well as having that public transportation basically right in front of it, so that people have access to get around different areas using that public transportation system. And it'll also help with connectability between the courthouse, Randall Road. It'll just kind of finish off that stretch of 38. And then we definitely have opportunities at basically Bricker and Route 38. So think right next to the Taco Bell, right by the Pride gas station. There's a couple empty lots there that I believe Shodine maybe owns the real estate, but I know that's a spot that can be developed, that will get developed. We have the old original. I know we're always talking about Charlestown Mall, but before Charlestown Mall, there was an original St. Charles Mall, which is basically right off of Prairie and 38. It's like a triangle shape, and there's a huge development that's almost done that Shodine did, that has the Anthony Place project, which is affordable housing that we had approved, and it also has the Prairie Center, which is almost all built out. There's actually a couple of buildings under construction, and then actually right by my house, there's a parcel of land at Bricker and 38 that is a farmland right now that could be developed into residential. So there's definitely some opportunities within the Fifth Ward. So I'm really, really excited about that.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys touched on this next one a little bit already, but we'll get in a little more more detailed. Ward 5 contains some of the last undeveloped space within the city limits. How do you think that area will change, and should it? This one is Steve first.
All right. Yeah. I mean, the undeveloped, I mean, definitely at the end of the day, it needs to be responsible development, number one. It's not just let whatever come in there. We want to utilize, you know, the land that we have in the best possible way that benefits everybody. But at the end of the day, you know, we want to be the financial focus. I want to be the financial focus of Kane County, not only Fox Valley, we're the pride of the Fox, but I want to be the destination that everybody comes to bring their dollars, their tax dollars into St. Charles. So that just means improving the retail component with variety, adding more housing. You know, obviously it has to be responsible, like I said, but I definitely did dig into a lot of that in that last round, so I don't want to be too repetitive. But then on top of it too, the empty building that Lauren was referring to, that used to be the Harley dealership. One of the things that I drastically think that we're lacking, and I'm sure Lauren can agree with me, having two kids of her own, is some kind of a kid-friendly family entertainment place that could be utilized, especially like in the winter months. We don't have a lot of that in town, and that's something that I think would be really cool if we could get something like that to come here. You know, whether it's a Dave and Buster's kind of thing, or something like that, but some kind of family entertainment. We don't have anything like that right now.
Okay, thank you. Lauren, same question.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that, Steve. And being on the youth commission and someone that has teenagers too, there's not a lot for teenagers to do. When I was growing up, I hung out at the mall a lot, and the kids don't have that. So a lot of times they're walking around, riding bikes around like all year round in all kinds of weather, just hanging out. So it would be great for not only families, but for the teens in the area to have something to do, an alternative to just wandering around town. But also, the charm of St. Charles is really in the city, in the downtown area. That's where the Business Alliance focuses a lot of their exciting reels to get people to come to St. Charles, to shop and to eat. And I would like to see a little bit more of, some kind of not big box, but, other kind of retailers in the Fifth Ward, something that also creates an experience, just like the shops and restaurants in the downtown area. So I would like to see that. And also look forward to some actual affordable housing. I know we do have a lot of apartments in or near the Fifth Ward, but if you ever looked up how much those cost, I don't know who those are affordable for. Seems pretty expensive for me. So yeah, I think it would be nice to see some affordable, attainable housing and something besides just big box stores, a variety of retail coming to the Fifth Ward. I'd like to see it.
Thank you.
You guys are kind of getting to our questions before we can. So I know you just touched on this, but our next question was going to be about the candidates stressing the importance of bringing affordable housing in. The question was going to be, is your ward a good place for that, and where do you see it fitting? I know you kind of just answered the first part of that, but if you want to touch on where you see that fitting in your ward. Sorry, this one starts with you, Lauren.
So yes, so I'm hoping that some of the components, the plans that I saw of the developments behind Meyer were like a mixed use housing. So there were apartments, I believe, and row houses and homes. So hoping that there's some affordable or attainable housing within that complex that is has already gotten somewhat approved by the council, or I'm not sure where that is at. Not approved yet. I was just looking at the plans yesterday, so online, to see what was proposed.
Thank you. Steve, same question. Where I know you've already got some affordable housing areas going in with Jonathan's place, but are there more areas in Ward 5 that would be good for affordable and diverse housing?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we have the Anthony Place one that's off of Prairie that you had, referenced. That's a 55 plus community that they have components that help make it attainable and affordable. And definitely the property behind Meyer is definitely ripe for this scenario. Like I said, it has all the things that just make sense. It's by public transportation, which is very beneficial for everybody. You also have a lot of retail. There's grocery that people can walk to, so it fits a lot of the criteria that you would need for, attainable, affordable housing. But then on top of it, we have, developers always want to pay the fee in lieu of doing the affordable housing. So we have a substantial amount of money right now in a fund to put towards that. So we got to just do a better job of having some flexibility in how to use that money. Whether it's putting it towards someone remodeling a house that maybe needs some work, or helping maybe someone put down a down payment on a house. There's got to be some flexibility, because if the developers keep just doing the fee in lieu, it doesn't do any good for us to just have that money sitting there to do something. So we got to be more creative with how we utilize those funds. And obviously it starts at the Housing Commission somewhat, but we as the council, we need to kind of give some better direction on having some flexibility with those dollars.
Okay, thank you. Steve, this will want to start with you. Do you feel the city has been fiscally responsible over the past 4 years, and how could it be improved?
I would say for the past 4 years, yes, we've made tremendous steps into making it way more. We've been a lot more responsible. Some of the, I'll just say, some of the prior councils didn't want to make some of the tough decisions, which makes us having to pay for projects at a higher price point when they should have been paid for 8, 10, 12 years ago. But we've paid down our debt $20 million over the past 4 years. That puts us in a better position to be able to borrow at a cheaper rate. It improves our bond rating, credit rating for the city. We've made adjustments into how we fund projects. So we internally accrue money to be able to pay for projects that are less than like basically $50,000, so that we don't have to go borrow for that. So we internally accrue for that. But then on top of it, maintaining and keeping track of our pension obligations. So basically last year we had the rate that we need to put into the pension obligation per the state. We had to increase our limit because we were falling behind. So we want to try to fund it at the highest level possible. So last year I was actually very vocal and pushed to have extra money put into both the police and the fire pension, so that we can reap the rewards of compound interest, so that it helps fund the pension system even better, to put us in a better position. But we have a great new finance director in Bill Hanna. He's done a really good job of putting numbers in front of us. We've had just way better dialogue regarding finances. The council we dig in a lot more and ask a lot more questions, I think, than some of the prior groups do. And a lot of times that just comes from the skill set of the people that are on council. Sometimes you have people that are really sharp with finances, so you're going to just get a better skill set and people that dig into more. Sometimes you get people that maybe have more knowledge of development, and obviously there's a benefit to having people on council like that. But right now we have a really good, well-rounded council. So we're chipping away at it, but we can always do better. Thank you.
Okay. And Lauren, the same question. Do you feel the city has been fiscally responsible the past 4 years, and how could it be improved?
I do agree. I think in the last 4 years, they've done a great job fiscally. I was very impressed to go to the budget meeting. I think the staff has been doing a great job. And I think that it is complex with the numbers that they have coming in. They have a great way of presenting it and kind of breaking it down. And yes, I do know in prior councils, they have kind of kicked the can down the road instead of paying for things. So it is important going forward to keep on that same fiscal responsibility as they've been doing now, because there's a lot of improvements that need to be made. So it's important to pay for things as needed, and use the reserves that we have if needed as well.
Thank you.
Is there anything that the two of you don't agree on? It might be easier to just go right to that. Seem to
most of what Steve says. I think we both want the city to be more walkable and bikeable and fiscally responsible. I think that the only thing that I feel that I really differ about and I'm very passionate about is I just want more engagement. I think we have such a low percentage of folks that really know what's going on. It's usually not until a fence goes up and then everyone's like, what's going there? And, you know, like these things happen quite a time in advance, but people aren't aware of what's going on. So I think that having in-person meetings is important. We usually have a really low voter turnout, about 16% for municipal elections. So I would just like to get more people engaged, more of our people knowing what's going on, and then they can come to meetings about things that they're passionate about, but they're still in the loop about what's happening and they can ask questions. That's something that's really very important to me because I feel like that's missing since I've moved here and since I've lived here. So that's something I'm super passionate about and would be very excited to do if I get elected.
So in regards of different viewpoints, I don't know enough about Lauren to say anything, and I never say anything negative about anybody. This is my fourth election now. I always take the high road because we live in the same neighborhood. We're friends, so I never saying anything negative at all. That's just not my style. The as far as like the communication component, it's tricky. This is something that we deal with a lot from the public. There's always people saying, you know, you're not transparent, or how do you get the information out to us? It's very hard. There's so many different ways to get information out to people, but obviously it needs to go both ways, right? So we have all the information on our website that we redone. You know, there's people that can you know, access, you know, whether it's the Kane County Chronicle to keep track, next door. We have a lot of information that we put out. People need to be engaged too. Like Lauren said, there's such a low voter turnout. I mean, there's even less people that are even outside of that. There's even less people that even want to get engaged in meetings. I'll sit at a city council meeting for the city budget, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, and there'll be 2 people in the room for the meeting. David, you know, but then we'll talk about a little development project that is going somewhere, and the room will be full and there'll be overflow. So people just have different ways of how, you know, what they perceive or what they want to get involved in, and it seems to always gravitate towards development stuff is when they really get all worked up or want to have a decision. But then all the other decisions throughout the year, they're good with everything, you know. So it's a finicky thing. But no, listen. I love our community. I want nothing but the best for it. I try to have a very common sense approach. I am truly nonpartisan. I make decisions that are not based on what Steve thinks, because I'm just a person in the ward. I base things off of what the residents want. It's never based on my personal beliefs on anything. So I always just try to make the best choice for the residents of my ward first, and then the overall city as well.
Thank you. We're going to finish here. This question's in a couple parts, so take your time. When you're visiting downtown, what's your favorite restaurant and what's your go-to order? And also, where's your secret parking spot? Steve, this one starts with you.
Well, the restaurant thing is going to be tricky. So I've been here for 21 years. If I per capita, I'm probably one of the top. My family's probably one of the top spenders at food establishments in the city, because I'm a huge. I'm insane with supporting local. You could give me a free meal gift certificate to a restaurant and say Elgin, and I'm going to still go to St. Charles. Like, I want to keep all my funds and support all the local businesses here. But I mean, if I were to say, listen, Alice 64, great place, very affordable food for the family. Does tons of charity work. I like Alice 64. Whiskey Bend, phenomenal patio, great drinks, live entertainment. One of my favorite pizza places in town. The reason I'm going to list all these because I don't want to get in trouble. One of my favorite pizza places in town is called Pomodoro Mozzarella, the little small Italian place off of North Avenue. They have the best calamari by far of any place I've ever been to, and the best Napolitano style pizza is phenomenal. Ray's Evergreen, they have great food, smoked meats. Alexander's, one of my favorite breakfast places. I mean, I can keep going, David.
I'm gonna cut you off here. In an effort of fairness, we got to save a few restaurants for Lauren to pick from, but I appreciate it.
Yes.
What about parking spot though?
Parking spot, I always find the best place to find parking spots, in my opinion, that's very centrally located, that can get you everywhere, is right behind, basically at the corner of 2nd and North Avenue. There's a lot right next to, there's like a liquor store on the corner next to a beauty salon. There's always spots in there if you get in there in the right time. And then right across from the Baker Community Center is phenomenal. It's centrally located and you can get to everywhere. And a lot of the out-of-towners don't know that those places really exist because they're always looking for the parking garages, you know?
Excellent. Lauren, same question.
Yes, well, I have been talking to my daughter who is coming home on Saturday night for her spring break, and we have made a reservation at Zaza's with my whole family. That is one of my top places to go in St. Charles to eat. The food is phenomenal, and we've been coming there since we lived outside of St. Charles. So that's one of my favorite places. They always have Alfredo and vodka sauce that you can get with any pasta, and so I have to say the vodka sauce is probably my favorite. Highly recommend. And my go-to parking spot is I usually park right in front of Baker Memorial. That lot is my go-to usually. But if I can't park there, I will usually park at the rooftop deck parking spot. If it's not too crowded. If it's not on the weekend, that's usually open. But if not, then Baker Memorial or somewhere right around there, and I'll walk from there.
Thank you.